Good morning, everybody, and welcome to you, Dan Glickman. As we just heard, you're now at the Aspen Institute, former agriculture secretary, former 9-term congressman from the fine state of Kansas. And we're going to set the tone this morning with a bird's eye view of the landscape of diabetes in America, zoom in on some of the public policies that are helping or hurting efforts to bring the epidemic under control, and also sort through the impact of some of our personal choices on diet and nutrition. And in that vein, I have to start by confessing that I was really curious what they would serve for breakfast at a diabetes summit. I think I was bracing myself for the low-sodium, carb-free tofu scramble, and instead, as we see, it's the usual breakfast buffet of muffins and croissant, and I will be the first to confess that I succumb to the chocolate croissant.
You don't have a problem, though, like I do.
Did you summon the power to resist?
I did summon the power today, but only because you were sitting right next to me. So.
Scarfing my chocolate croissant. I mean, I guess it speaks to one of the challenges out there that if it's there, we will eat it, and the availability of fresh food that's healthy and reasonably priced in urban communities is a huge challenge and remains one that feeds directly into this debate.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Two, like the introducer, I have a problem. My A1C is kind of at the marginal limit, and my blood sugar is always being watched, and I take metformin, so I'm one of those in this category as well, and it affects a lot of people. And by the way, it affects people in rural area very much as urban area. I don't want people to think this is just an urban thing. This is a national problem. But you know, over the years, we have been led to believe food is ubiquitous and cheap in America, by the way. And calorie-dense food is even cheaper. And so we kind of have structured our diets to deal with that. And also the messages from the media and from advertisers are pretty much, you rarely see healthy food being advertised. Almost always, you don't see fresh fruits and vegetables being advertised on TV. You see processed foods being advertised. And fast food, and we live in a culture where both spouses or even single spouses, parents work, and so it's tough to eat right, do right, exercise right in the complicated society we live in. So under the best of circumstances, people have a couple strikes against them before they even start this battle. The
new federal nutrition guidelines are out this month, as I understand.
Right.
They're out. This comes out every 5 years.
Right.
So big deal in terms of influencing what we should be eating and how this feeds into healthy lifestyle. What are you expecting to see?
Okay, so every 5 years, the Departments of Agriculture and Health and Human Services publish the dietary guidelines. And then they're kind of simplified by it used to be the food guide pyramid, and now it's been turned into something called My Plate. And most people know about that here. And that gives kind of general advice based on good science about people ought to eat less fats, and more fresh fruits and vegetables. It sets some guidelines for people to eat, and if people follow it, they generally will have a healthier diet. It's one of the more important things the government does to give people information about what to eat.
Why? Because it seems like we all know we shouldn't be picking the chocolate croissant. We should be getting the fresh fruit. I don't need the government to tell me that. It's the then, okay, how do you actually translate into actual behavior that's
It's information, though. Most people kind of maybe inherently know that they're supposed to eat tree bark all their life and then they'll never get sick. But, you know, taste.
That's for lunch, by the way.
I mean, why do people buy food? They buy it because it tastes good, because it's priced well, and because it's healthy. And health is becoming a higher and higher standard in this regard. But the dietary guidelines, which started about 30 or 40 years ago, is a way to give consumers, doctors, healthcare providers, almost everybody in this country information about what they should or shouldn't eat. And, you know, they're going to do what they want to do anyway, but that information is very helpful to them.
Yeah. Speaking of giving us more information that should hopefully inform the choices we make, I know one effort you've been involved with is this requiring fast food restaurants, requiring airports, requiring all kinds of different food vendors to put the calorie count up there. That's a new thing happening this year, 2015, where you go to the baseball stadium to watch a Yankees game and they're showing you how many calories are in your chili dog or whatever you're ordering. Do we have information on whether that actually influences people's choices, or does it just make us all really cranky?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think the food industry is beginning to realize that giving folks information is a positive thing to do. How many people follow it, it's unclear. Some do, however. I noticed the movie theaters, I used to be the lobbyist for the American movie industry, and so there was an effort to try to provide more labeling in film theaters. Some resisted that, some are now doing it. But generally speaking, the more information a consumer gets, the better he or she is. Now, that alone is not enough. But information is power, particularly with modern technology. Cell phones, communication techniques are better. But still the consumers are running into all sorts of issues that are hard to deal with. The marketing of food in this country, both to adults and to children, is troublesome because what is being marketed? It's generally not healthy foods because those there's not a lot of profit in marketing blackberries. But you know, and the food industry, I think, is doing a better job than it used to do. But marketing is certainly a bad situation. School meals, this administration has done what it can to try to improve the quality and content of food in school meals, and that's a positive thing. Although I have to tell you, when I was at the Department of Agriculture, we did our best to take all the fat out of milk. This was 20 years ago. Now we're finding that was a mistake. That in fact people ought to be drinking whole milk or at least 2% milk because the fat in milk helps you metabolize food more generally. So consumers are often confused about what to eat and what not to eat, and that's a problem that is a proverbial problem that we have in this country. But by and large, that's why the dietary guidelines and the better meals in the schools are something that's important. And one other factor, this is also very controversial. 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 7 Americans are on the SNAP program, food stamp program, which of course USDA administered. So as opposed to WIC, Women, Infant, and Children, you know, we prescribe certain foods for people to eat that they have to meet because of the unique nature of being pregnant or having young kids. SNAP has no real restrictions on what you can buy with SNAP coupons or with the electronic benefit record. So you can buy about everything except alcohol and hot meals that are served, and a few other things. You can buy sugar-sweetened beverages, you can buy about everything else. And you know, while the diabetes epidemic is ubiquitous across the country, it's higher in low-income communities. So one of the things we ought to think about is as we look at those programs, the federal programs that are called the nutrition programs, by the way. These are not called food supplement programs. Supplemental nutrition assistance program. We ought to really consider how we can make those programs much more nutritionally beneficial for the people that are on them.
I interviewed a chef recently whose son has type 1 diabetes, and so he's gotten very involved in educating himself, and he's pushing through an initiative that's been successful in a number of cities where those food stamps, you get double the value if you take them to your local farmer's
Double
market,
up bucks, it's called.
So there's all kinds of ways of thinking about making that program serve better the communities that it's intended to help.
And the Congress has expanded farmers market assistance,
yeah.
And there you can, in fact, get increased value of your benefits if you buy fresh fruits and vegetables at those things.
You touched on school meals, and one of the lessons we're learning is that when it comes to diabetes and trying prevention efforts, that getting people early is one of the best strategies, trying to target kids early before they grow up and become pre-diabetic or diabetic with type 2 diabetes. And that's where we've seen some of the most visible government initiatives, and we all know about First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative. There's the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act. This was the legislation from 2-3 years ago trying to force schools to put school lunches on the table that are lower in fat, lower in sodium, higher in whole grains, et cetera. And the problem, I mean, I don't know if you all saw here, the New York Times recently summed up the effort so far, and the headline pretty much said it all: why students hate school lunches. Interviewing all of these cafeteria dietitians who are saying, making these healthy lunches, and the kids pick it up and walk it straight to the trash bin and then cross the street to the vending machine.
Well,
what's going wrong there?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't believe everything you read about this, because an awful lot of schools are having great success with the new lunches. But, look, when I was in school, I remember the roast beef. It had colors in the rainbow in it. Some of you may recall that. I mean, it was just, what was served was fat, fat, and fat. And On the other hand, you have to appeal to taste. So we might have some ideas about what kids should eat, but if they don't like it, they're not going to eat it, no matter how good it is. So it's a constant challenge for school nutritionists to do a good job of serving healthy meals and tasty meals as well. Second of all, if you go into local school districts all over this country, the school meals programs are not at the high end of their priority list for the most part. It's often at the low end in terms of what schools spend money on. So it's very difficult for them. But still, the goal is good, improving the quality of school meals, getting more fresh fruits and vegetables, not just fresh fruits. Fruits and vegetables in the program as well, and then it'll start some patterns that kids will carry with them the rest of their life, and maybe influence their families as well.
Are there more smart policy initiatives that you see happening along those lines? I mean, whether it's coming from the federal government, whether it's coming from school districts, whether it's coming from the medical providers that are trying.
Well,
to
I'd say
kids?
two or three things. One is the Pentagon is one of they're doing a great job. They've got something called the Healthy Base Initiative. They found, that a lot of the recruits aren't eligible even after training because they're nutritionally or physically not sufficient. In fact, the school meals program grew out of the 1940s when one out of every 2 recruits in 1945 were disqualified for military service. The biggest problem was teeth. Rotted or bad teeth. That was the biggest health care problem. So out of that came the National School Meals Program. And the Pentagon is now at the forefront of setting up programs at every one of their military services to try to improve quality food, frankly, get some of the fast food out of the bases, to do those kinds of things.
I covered the Pentagon as a reporter. You have never seen so many fast food outlets in your life as when you walk inside the Pentagon, from fried chicken to burgers to...
It's tough to do, but they are certainly trying, and they have a very controlled population. One of the things they found is adding an hour of sleep to their recruits had a big impact on health, and because sleep is a big factor, particularly with respect to obesity. Two other things that we can do just quickly. One of them has to do with, we talked about this a little earlier, most physicians are not trained in nutrition at all. It's just not part of the course material, or they get very elementary training. So the people who interface with patients don't know anything about prevention of disease with respect to nutrition or physical activity. So we need to figure that out, do a better job of training physicians. Medical schools need to do it, as well as the referral to other healthcare providers and provide the compensation to these people so that health, nutrition is part of people's basic medical care, and it is not right now in terms of the training of physicians. The other thing is to try to see how insurance companies can do a better job of compensating for health and prevention activities. And many companies are now finding this is an extremely important part of getting better, healthier employees and improving their own productivity in the process.
What would that look like? You get a discount on your premium if you're at a healthy weight and if you say you exercise regularly?
And we do that now with smoking. Most companies will rate policies better if you don't smoke. So they're looking, it's tricky because, some people have illnesses they can't deal with. But at the same time, the private sector has a great role in ensuring a healthier workforce in terms of their bottom line. So this is the whole subject you're talking about today, and there are great experts in the room, is a complicated problem. And I think it was H.L. Mencken or John Maynard Keynes, somebody who said, for every complicated problem, there is a simple and a wrong solution. And this is a complicated problem of immense magnitude. What you eat, how you exercise, its impact on genetics, and the numbers of players in this thing is just profound. So anybody tells you there's one solution today, they're wrong. It's extremely complicated. But a real positive thing that's coming out of this is the empowerment of the consumer. Consumers today with handheld devices and with the modern media are much more empowered than they used to be. People now, it's not just what is advertised, although that's a big part of it, but people want to know what's in their food, where is it grown, how safe it is, how healthy it is. And it's not just at high income levels. That's moving down the income chain. And empowering consumers is a big part of the solution to this problem.
You mentioned you are pre-diabetic.
That's right.
Can I ask how you found out?
Well, I kind of had a feeling as my blood sugar never would go down with every physical. It wouldn't go up very much, but it wouldn't go down. And, my physician would say, well, your blood sugar's a little high, but quite frankly, it was more self-help than what I was getting from my physician, because it wasn't a secret that if you don't deal with this problem, it will come back to haunt you later in life with stroke, heart disease, whatever else that comes from this thing.
And have you changed diet, lifestyle choices?
Let's put it like
this. Are you
this.
following your own advice?
Let's put it like
is
this.
what I'm building
I
to.
eat, along with the crap I eat a lot of great food. So I'd say that's, and I do exercise 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. But you know, I mean, to each his own. Everybody has to do his or her own thing. And there are a lot of people, we were at earlier, the YMCA, the Y is doing great work in this area. A lot of nonprofits are doing great work in this area. And as I said, it's a national problem. This is just not a problem of class or race. This is a national problem. Every state in the country. In fact, a lot of the rural states have the highest incidence of diabetes and obesity. It's not just urban states. We're all in this together.
Okay, and of course there's a lot of questions still about this perception that you can diet and exercise your way out of type 2 diabetes. That correlation is something that we're still trying to nail down exactly what that looks like in the scientific community. I want to open it up to your questions. I think we have a microphone that's going to find its way around. Yes, sir, right here.
My name is Barry Goldsmith. I'm an architecture professor. I don't build bodies, I build buildings in which people exercise. Anyway, I have a question about high fructose corn syrup. It seems to be as high fructose corn syrup becomes more and more prevalent in people's diets, the diabetes rate goes up. Is there any truth in that? And if so, what is the government doing about removing high fructose corn syrup? Thank you.
It's a good question. This may be the only one I'm able to answer because I am going to have to leave. But okay, so this is an agricultural subsidy issue as much as a nutrition issue. Most of the sugar that we consume in this country is from corn, not from cane sugar or not from beet sugar. It's from corn. That's because we found an easy way to convert the carbs, the sucrose in corn, to fructose, and it's just particularly good in soft drinks. But it's also good in processed foods as well. Based on my understanding, there's no evidence that there's any difference between how high fructose and sucrose impacts your body. So eating sugar, raw sugar versus sucrose is got the same impact. That is sugar in terms of weight gain. Now, scientists in the future may find some difference. Now, the difference here is the following, is that corn has historically been subsidized. So fructose comes in at a cheaper price than it would otherwise be if it weren't subsidized. So the corn is subsidized, therefore the fructose comes in at a lower price, and consumers getting the process less expensive than they would get it if it weren't subsidized, which means you're getting a break on the price of Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola or whatever else that is subsidized there. And so, that's a question as to, how it impacts people's diets, the ubiquitous nature of fructose in the foods that we eat. The fact of the matter is that there's growing evidence that we could just consume too much plain sugar, whatever kind of sugar, where it's from. And that's something that's probably harmful to most people, maybe not to everybody. And so it's a good question. Best I can answer it is like that.
I saw lots of hands shooting up. We promised Dan he's got to make it uptown to another meeting, so we're going to let him run. Please keep your questions. We've got several more conversations coming, lots more opportunities.
If you want to send
questions.
the question to me, I'll answer them if they come by email, as long as it's less than 10, But I'll be glad to if you want to pass them on.
Invitation to email Dan, and we thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your time
all very much. Appreciate it.
this morning. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure.